Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Astrology Chisme Hotline. Today is a very special day because this is actually my first YouTube reading. Basically, I'm going into this just to show you my skills as an astrologer and just show people like what a consultation looks like. I'm going to go into reading a client's chart to answer a very specific question and do it publicly and share it publicly, anonymously, of course. The reason why I'm doing this isn't just because they are a former client and return faithful, loyal supporter. No. The reason why I'm doing this is actually because they also donated to my mom's GoFundMe. As some of you may know, my mom underwent breast cancer and has beat and survived it. And basically, during that time and a little bit after the recovery, I was doing whatever I could to get donations sent her way. Y'all came through, and yeah, this person is one of the people who donated with the intent, $15 for a YouTube video reading. So very excited to do this, very excited to honor my mom and answer this. So let's just get into it.
So fucking excited for your film, dog. Congratulations. Second, I just want to ask you a quick question. So, I'm supposed to get a huge chest piece, tattoo piece, right? I intentionally said the 6th of September for it to be after the Venus retrograde. But then we are coming into a Mercury retrograde, as this is a piece that is supposed to be transformative and, oh, non-disclosure agreement, but a transformative piece that also opens up and is a part piece for my throat chakra and my heart chakra. With it being in the midst of a Mercury retrograde, I wanted to ask your personal thoughts on if you would advise to wait until Mercury retrograde is over, because I waited for this tattoo to be after Venus retrograde, because I know at least from what I knew and have studied, like it's just like not a good idea to get something permanent. But in thinking about the Mercury retrograde and this piece, I guess I just want to ask you your thoughts before I make it for the 6th. And I made it the 6th for several reasons. One being that that's the anniversary of my family friend's passing. And, we were going to do like a ceremony around it. It was going to be very like intentional that way. But I'm also just considering the retrograde.
That is very smart, very reasonable question, and let's look at it. Let's look at it right now. All right, so to start, we're going to look at your chart first, just so that we can start out with what energies are best favored for tattoos, for, you mentioned something about the heart and the throat chakra. I do recognize that it's someone else's culture, and in my culture, we also have those energy centers. Very fucking real, hell yeah. I would say your heart would be represented by your sun sign. So you're a Cancer, you're born in July 4th, and your Venus, which represents aesthetic choices, art on your body, and that is in the sign of Leo. So the sun and Venus have a connection in that your Venus is pretty much like your son's baby, like because the sun is the daddy of your Venus. I'm glad you waited for the Venus retrograde to be done, because that Venus retrograde was in Leo and you have Venus in Leo direct. So if you had it retrograde, it probably would have been fine, but I'm glad that you went with your gut already and waited for that. Now I'm gonna go into like where we are in present day. You know, Venus is still in Leo and it's direct. It's approaching your Venus, and you are pretty much having a Venus return. So that is beautiful. This Mercury retrograde, as you can see, it's red, hence it is retrograde. Mercury, here we go. It's in your eighth house, and I think the fact that it's like co-present with the sun right here reminds me of what you had mentioned about like your family friends passing, because the eighth house that they're, you know, kind of chilling in right now, even though you don't have any natal planets in it, like in the sky right now, I feel like they're kind of pointing to that. I feel the eighth house does have to do with, I think, grief and death in general, but especially when it comes to family, friends, and just things that you kind of need other people to be involved in just as much as yourself. You know, that is interesting, and wanting to note that it's at the number 13, degree 13, if that means anything to you. Let's see, what is this Mercury doing? Opposing your Saturn, your natal Saturn. And so I wonder if, as some of y'all know who have maybe watched, check out my video on astrology of skincare know, Saturn to me represents boundaries, and the skin being the biggest physical boundary that us humans have to protect everything else kind of makes me think about that, especially considering it's in your second house. And the second house is something about earthly possessions. And no, I mean, it's not money, but you know what? Skin is a valuable fucking resource, especially if you take care of it really good. So, yeah, this is making me think a lot about this, you know, again, about healing this sort of like family friend passing, like the grief around that, almost as if maybe this tattoo artist, you guys did mention it would be some sort of a ritual. I have it pulled up here. I see tattooing, oh my god, Canva. I see tattooing as spell casting, medicine, care work, somatic, embodiment work, all these words, right, that the tattoo artist to describe their practice. I do believe that if there is a deep intention or like spiritual intention and ancestral connection, that it is aligned. Like so far I'm not really seeing any red flags. At the end of the day, the eighth house isn't, oops, it's not a scary place per se. A lot of people, you know, correlate it to Scorpio, and I think the two deal with commitment and deep commitment at that. I don't know, I just feel like the eighth house is a place where you really see like what's real and what's not. So if you feel like really strongly about this piece, just know, like, I think there's a lot of just heightened awareness of like, this is very like, this is permanent. This is fucking permanent. I think that's cool. I have this fucking dog here. Like, I love that it's permanent. So, and it's also, okay, let's see what else is Mercury doing to you. I mean, it's not really, it's kind of just supporting your Cancer sun with this green line that represents a sextile. So, okay, that's cool. Good to know. And your own Mercury is what? Okay, it's in Gemini. 29 Gemini. Wow. That, and it's retrograde. So I knew it. I was already going to say, yes, you should just do it because during Mercury retrograde, because your Mercury is retrograde. And you know what? I don't think anyone should fear Mercury retrograde. It happens 3 times a year. But especially if you're born with Mercury retrograde, which, you know, there's probably like a 3 in like 6. There's like a 50%, I would say a solid 40% chance you're born in Mercury retrograde yourself. You should definitely not be scared to do things related to expression on your body, even if it's going retrograde, because I just don't think that it's, y'all thrive in that chaos, like, for lack of a better word. Especially at 29 Gemini, I mean, hello, like, y'all really thrive in this state of like heightened information absorbing, going and learning new things, and just like disrupting any sort of like fake boundary that people put on you around like, oh, when you're supposed to speak and when you're not, that people do at institutional and classist ways. And so, yeah, you know what? It is giving healing the throat. I love that. I would say just from your birth chart alone, right? And I've yet to actually Oh, oh wow. I was about to say I've yet to actually go to the date of the actual appointment. I thought we were still in today, but I forgot I actually prepared for this, and I did put the time for your appointment, which I have pulled up here. You said, "Hello Kushbu. Thank you for sharing this information. I will Venmo you today. Are you open to 11? Otherwise, I'm okay with 12." So I just said 12 because I was like, it sounds like, regardless of whether or not Kushbu said they're open to starting earlier, 12 p.m., you would for sure be getting the tattoo. I don't think that you could get anything remotely close to this tattoo in less than an hour. I don't see how that's possible. Yeah, there's a lot here, and I thought 12 p.m. definitely is a solid time. And so with my advice now definitely being like, yes, you know what, go for it. I'm just gonna make sure like and close any like loose ends, and just look at the rest of the day. um yeah, just look at what else is going on here. So I love that the moon itself is also going to be in Gemini at that time. It won't be visible because it's during noon, but it will be there. And you know what? It might be visible because we just came out from a Pisces full moon. So it was like where? Over. It was over here. And so it would be waning around here, might be visible. And I love that it's not only shining a light on that Mercury of yours that does represent the throat. I mean, it's shining a light on your moon itself. You're having a lunar return, which is like a birthday, like a solar return, but you have one each month just for your moon. And I love that. And so you'll be going through your moon and your Mars that is right next to it. And, because they share a degree at 0 Gemini, I just feel like they're kind of one entity in and of themselves. I just think it's funny how it shows up in the tattoo because I talked about this in my Mars and Gemini episode around Mars and tattoos because Mars, even if you look at it, right, it's like literally a spear, right? It's like a freaking arrow. And it does represent the blood, the color red, violence, war. But really, like, in the fucking 21st century, and honestly, like, ancient times, it hella represents tattoos. That's the realm of, like, cutting and blood letting and just things that I feel most people of color in America have access to. Tattoos themselves are seen as a form of protection among just the global majority in general. So, I don't know which one you said exactly you're getting, which is something I really wanted to look at. You said you want elements of soft and hard, ancestral, but also futuristic, metallic, and floral. And I like how you put metallic, scary, lol. This piece represents armory protection, strength, power, empowerment, softness, vulnerability, growth, ancient connection, and etc. I think that is a really, really beautiful piece. And I do think that you chose the right artist for this. You said rooted fluidity is one of my top choices, particularly the one to the left. I don't know if the light around it means it's unavailable, but sharing interest anyway. You also say fire portal spoke to me the most. I can see this potentially on my back, near the back of my neck, as a protective slash power piece. And I know you mentioned in your voice message on the chest. So I'm gonna like move forward with that understanding because I did text you today and asked you if anything's changed. So I'm just going to disregard that information and just look at you basically wanting a combination of fire portal, which is super interesting in astrology because, hello, like we have the fire signs Leo, Aries, Sagittarius. And you also said rooted fluidity, which very much gives me like Virgo. And we are in Virgo season. This appointment you've set will still be in Virgo season, which, by the way, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. It took me so long to record this video. You literally sent this to me. I don't even know. I don't know how long. It's been like a week at least. At least. And I'm telling you right now that I did these space braid slash pigtails twice. Or this is my third time doing it actually. Because both times I did it, I got completely interrupted by dumb drama. Honestly. I wish I was lying. Moving on. Also, I wanted to record with my mic. Honestly, it's not even that. Not 100%. I would be lying because I got a mic, I got a desk, and I got art. And this art is my brand, which this video is sponsored by. If you want to get t-shirts, definitely go to my website. Link in bio, sofialeal.org. Okay? Shameless plug over. Let's continue. So I just love that you're having your lunar return, and the moon and Mars in combination. Individually, both represent the body, but you have them when you were born. The moon and Mars said, "For lifers." I love that because that just it means like you're really sensitive. I think you're probably one of the most sensitive Gemini moons there are, I would say. I would, especially as a Cancer. I just want to look at Virgo. If you want a combination of fire portal and Virgo, like let's just kind of check out Virgo really quick. And I say Virgo for any astrology students listening because, as you may or may not know, Virgo is the mutable earth sign. The rooted part is definitely rooted in earth, and the fluidity part of the tattoo reminded me of mutability. You know, those are the same words, basically meaning I'm going to shift, like I'm going to grow and mutate, evolve, etc. So we love to see it. We do. And I'm actually going to look at this version because it's just a lot. It's a lot easier at first just to locate. Oh, yeah, it's in your eighth house. Duh. I didn't even notice that. Okay. I didn't even notice it was in Virgo. Yes. Okay. So if you do get any aspects of the rooted fluidity, it will really ground your understanding of grief because it will remind you that grief is what makes you human. And I also think that any sort of ancestral, ritual, yeah, for lack of a better word, just like calling on the ancestors that this tattoo artist does, I do really, really encourage you to do like solo, like just talking to them first, just because you never know what ancestors are going to feel comfortable coming into this space or even going to be comfortable with this artist, period. You know what I'm saying? And I think that when it comes to like the eighth house, like it can get messy sometimes. So just something to be mindful of because the eighth house is a place that boundaries are constantly being negotiated, understanding is always like changing, and it's kind of just like in the trenches for like it's the weeds of relationships and like all the shit and mess that comes with it pretty much. That's the eighth house for y'all. Yeah, I mean, it's perfect, right? It's like this is a family, friend of the family anniversary, like their death anniversary, and like there's a lot of feelings that come up with that, and it is a very intentional day, right? And so I think like beyond astrology, it's really like this is a special day, period. And the fact that the sun and Mercury are literally joining together, it's almost like this person is reminding you that they exist. Like they're still in your heart. Like it's so corny, but it really is. Like the sun is the heart, right? And Mercury is the throat. And together, it's like, I love you. I love you. I love you. Like that's what comes out when they join. In the eighth house, it deals with the dead. It really does. I do believe that the eighth house, for a lot of people, like the fourth house And the 12th house, okay, for you astrologers listening, have to do with death. But I also think like the 8th house is, to an extent, it does have to do with that transcending. So this is a transformative piece, also just thinking about the number 13, what it means to you. I know it's a very sacred number in a lot of cultures, so very beautiful. It's all coming together. Okay, what else? In your message, I think you also said something around protection to this tattoo artist. So you did mention fire portal. And I do see this space, 8th house that we just talked about, as something that needs to be protected. Not necessarily like protective or like necessarily like, but more of just like what's below, the protective surface. And I do think it's very interesting because Saturn is on that other side and does kind of represent the what I'm making here with my hands, and I'm seeing it as like a cloak, right? Or like the barrier. And I just keep looking at the second house as the body. I do. I know a lot of people say, it's like money and it's like values. Excuse me. I just see it as more than that. I'm really seeing it right now as the body. I'm really, really, that's the meaning that I'm getting out of it. And it's like an investment, right? It's like whatever. I saw you Venmo this person. Like there is money involved in this. There is real time and labor involved in this. So I think let's just look at what's on the other side of that. Your Saturn's in Pisces. You are going through your Saturn return right now. And so while I do see it as more of like the cloak, and Saturn can be very protective, I still think that because it's going to be like, metaphorically fucking stabbed to shit with by Mars, we need to look at the fire. We need to look at what fire signs you have in your chart, and we need to look at the fire portal aspect of your tattoo, the fire portal. Let's enter the fire portal and come out new and with more understanding. This sounds like a good way to wrap up also. So, fire. For people who are new to birth charts, anything that's red here is fire. There's 3. 4 elements, 3 signs per element. Okay, so let's go with Aries first. In the sky right now, we do have something in Aries, and that is the North Node. There's 2 nodes, South and North. I think they're very, very cool, but I'm not going to necessarily talk about them right now because it just is such a rabbit hole for me to go down. But I will say that I think it is a positive omen. Let's see. We also have Leo. And yes, I already mentioned a little bit, but just to recap, you're having your Venus return in Leo because you were born with a Venus in Leo. And in the sky right now, there's a Venus in Leo. There's also the midheaven or medio cielo in Espanol, and that's where the MC comes from. So I know technically a lot of y'all like the Latin version, but Spanish is just a modern version of Latin, or it's the closest thing to Latin. So stay mad. I don't give a fuck. The Medio Cielo is a very notable place. I will say that. There's a lot, I will say, of like clout associated with it in the sense that it's a legacy. It's something that is very notable and will be looked back upon by not just you, but like other people in your life. And I'm sure you're going to post about it, okay? So that counts. And finally, Sagittarius. Well, I don't even think we have anything in Sagittarius, but it's having a great time anyways. And you know what? We'll be having the moon in Gemini, which is the sister sign or opposite sign of Sagittarius, kind of like activating that place of your life that is, I think, overall a good way to end on your 11th house Sagittarius because, it does represent your dreams. And you have big dreams, bro. You do. Even though there's no planets and it looks empty, you have them. They're fucking there. Yeah, I do think that Venus and its connotations with love and aesthetics and values, you're on the right track. I knew you were already like tapped in. You didn't even need me for the reading. I appreciate it. I appreciate you, of course, and so does my mom. And I know you appreciate learning more about my way of seeing things, but yeah, really like an astrologer's job a lot of the times, especially when it comes to just such like committed clients, and not even a sense like, oh, you come back to me. It's like, no, you're always asking me questions and you're always learning. Not only that, to necessarily astrology, just learning about yourself and learning about just getting tapped in general in any sort of way, shape, or form. All I have to do is be like, aside from all this actual Mercury retrograde bullshit that's been going on, literally this being my third time trying to take this and building this setup for it to happen, you have nothing to worry about. And that's why I knew it. That's why I knew I didn't have to rush into making this video, even though I hadn't even really looked at it. I just know what I know of your chart, what I remember of it. I know the vibes. I know the vibes, and the girlies love the vibes. Send me pictures. I fucking love you, bitch. Peace out.